Get in here, get in here, get in here. So we got things to do and talk about and to discuss. I've noticed though that people always come on later on in the show, so I usually be getting off by the time people get up in here, and I be talking for like an hour. But today we will be getting straight to it, to the topics, because I have so much to do. I have so much to do. I feel like I have so much to do every day, but today I have to do some things. And I'm even having a little DP. I don't even drink that like that, but it's been a long day. Sure now day. Okay. I'm sorry for being late. I told you guys before, you may not know, but I'm back in school. So with me being back in school, I now have this mentorship, and I had to attend to that. So getting into it though, I'm going to start, and I would like to start like I did in a couple other shows, opening up with something either positive, giving you some type of advice, or something, because I feel as though it's, a lot of times we say it's not how you start, it's how you end, which that is very true. But I also feel like if you get off to a great start, then you'll have a great middle and a great end as well. So today, something that stuck out to me 2 times today, something like just, I felt like the forces were forever not in my favor. And I'm like, this is frustrating me. And I was, finding myself getting outside of myself and be beside myself for a lot, because I just, allow things to affect me sometimes. But the thing about that is you cannot allow something that happened 10 seconds to affect your 23 hours and some change, right? You have to make sure that what you allow to affect you isn't truly affecting you long term, because that's just a splice of a moment. It shouldn't ruin your entire day, right? And I also want to note that being in this world, which I want to commend, like I said before, all the organizations that are coming out and speaking against, suicide. I'm not speaking out against, but speaking up for suicide ideations, for mental health, and really being in that space. And I also just want to put this out. It reminds me of, and I have a scripture here. So yeah, we're gonna be scripture babes, okay? But Romans 12:2, where it reads, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect," right? I feel like that applies to so many different things, and especially in the realm of sports, because in a lot of the world, we conform to the team that we own. We conform to the things that are around us, to the people that are around us, and sometimes not conforming, stepping out of the fold, ripping it apart, and presenting yourself as who you are meant to be will allow you to continue to have those bright and shining moments in your day. So don't conform to the anger that you had earlier in the day, but be renewed by that testament there, so you can be a better person, so you can have a better day. Hope that's making sense here. But we're going to get more into it. But I felt that on my heart and on my soul that somebody probably needed to hear that at some point if you do watch this show. And I just wanted to say that you are in the right spot. You are perfect the way that you are. And where you are meant to be, you will be. Do not conform to what's around you, because as soon as you conform, that's when your blessing may get taken away. So we're going to move on to sports. I don't have that many topics today, but we are going to do Equestrian 101, because I moved it from like 2 weeks ago. It probably was only last week, but I moved it and I'm bringing it back because we're going to talk about it, because I don't have a lot of topics to talk about today. It's a slow news day. It's also Thursday night football. The Bills are playing the Texans, and one of my favorite athletes over there on the Bills, which is, making me regret my words now. Okay, we got to talk about it. We got to get into it. But you always know I have to play my beautiful and wonderful intro. Welcome back to the Daily Dose with Dez. I'm Dez, and we are going to get into all of these topics shortly, right after this. Admit it. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it loud. Got you feeling so proud. This is how we do it now. Daily Dose with Dez. Okay, So let's dive into our MLB topics. MLB topics. We only have one MLB topic actually, but we're gonna dive into it because the MLB has now struck up a new 3-year deal with NBC, Netflix, and ESPN. So that means you will get more MLB content, more games, more explosiveness, more. The MLB has so many games, like it's like 120 or something, but it's a lot of games. And I feel like they go on forever. I feel like their season literally ends in like September, October, and then they get started right there in January again. I don't know. I obviously know it's longer than that, the little break, but I feel like we start to ravel it back up and all of those great things. But I do think that this is a great first step, or I don't want to say first step, but this is a great step for MLB. One, getting it on Netflix, where a lot of other sporting um, I can't think. I'm just so tired today. A lot of other, the NFL and all that stuff is trying to get on Netflix and trying to stream, UFC, and all that stuff. So getting it on Netflix, which again, Netflix is turning into this like streaming company. They just, they're taking over. It's like them and Amazon are just doing its thing. I actually seen a thing where it says you can now, Amazon and Ford struck up a deal. So now you're probably gonna be able to order a car off Amazon at some point. Crazy, but that's just the way the world is currently working. So I think that it's a great move that the MLB wants to get some of their content onto Netflix. It would have been great if they also struck up a deal with Prime. I think Prime has done some great things. I watch a lot of my sports now from Amazon Prime with the live TV, and I can still watch my Law and Order. I can still watch other shows and things. So I'm just like completely in love with it. I did have YouTube TV, but YouTube TV is hiking up those prices a little bit, and I don't know if I really want to go back. But I think this is great for them getting more ESPN coverage as it should be. NBC, I like that move specifically because I get more NBC channels than I do like the ABC and such. So I think that's a great move. And the MLB needs, I'm not saying that they need more exposure, but as much exposure as possible. I feel like the NHL needs to try to conjure up a deal and do something else as well, because they definitely need more exposure to get out there. So I think this is a great deal for MLB, and I don't think there's any like specifics that we need to be worried about. I do feel like though that some of these prices are going to continue to elevate, because the more that they add to it, especially the more like premium and more quality things they're putting on there, they're definitely going to like heighten that. But as part of the rights agreement, this will cover between 2026 and 2028 for the MLB seasons. The league's long-standing relationship with ESPN will reach 39 consecutive seasons. So just getting on that renewal. NBC will return to regularly airing the games on its broadcast network for the first time in a quarter century. And Netflix engagement with MLB will expand from documentaries to live baseball event coverages for the first time. So again, expanding the exposure and really putting it out there. Again, I love the NBC part, because for those who only get like the regular NBC channels or the regular, some people still get the cable. ABC is really finicky with some things, but I know for a fact I can get NBC. And if I want to watch baseball, I think that's a great thing to have MLB on. So I like that. I like that they have reached that deal, and I can't wait to see what more comes from this deal and everything that they do. All right. So we're going to move on. Hopefully I'm not rushing through these topics for y'all, but I'm going to have to rush through the topics a little bit. So next we have one of my my second favorite Rodman. Okay. Dennis Rodman is like one of my favorite Rodmans, and I know that he's a deadbeat. And I called him out about that too. So back again, because I'm not super popular yet. Y'all missing when I be saying things and I be reporting on things, but I reported on Dennis Rodman and his daughter, Trinity Rodman, but I reported on her by herself anyway, because she's a part of the National Women's Soccer League. And I've said this before, that our Women's Soccer League has been the steep and the highlight of the show. I feel like they've been better than the men's national team for years now, and it's not even close. And you can say that that's just my biased opinion, but I think that's the actual opinion here. And Trinity Rodman is so good. Okay, So good. Was on the Olympic team. She's obviously on the national team, and she also plays for the Spirit. And right now, the national team is fighting to keep her in the United States because England is knocking on that door, and they have contract money out of the hoo ha, and they want her. And you know what? I can't even be mad if she goes and chases the bag. She said that she won't make a decision until after the championship game because she really wants to be able to be a part of that. She wants to focus on where she is at now. But when you look at it and you know, because soccer, aka football, everywhere else in the world, is not so prominent here, the salaries for these women who, and even probably the men, but we're talking about women right now, for these women, it's just simply subpar compared to what England or another country could bring her. And there's so much revenue in the world of soccer that I cannot blame her if she decides to take her talents elsewhere. Okay, because apparently the contract that they're asking her to sign, the national team can't even come close to it. Can't even come close. So I don't know what they do at this point. I don't know what they do at this moment. And I thought it was so like mind blowing. I did bring up her article here because they're like the NWSL is fighting to keep her. They're trying to fight tooth and nail and tooth to keep her here. And you know, she said, and she spoke to reporters and said that she genuinely has not made a decision yet. She said, yeah, there could be conversations being held, but right now I'm excited to be representing the Spirit. I'm not even thinking of when my last game will be. I just want to win it, and then we'll see what we have from here. Politically correct answer, perfect answer to give, because we don't want to give out anything, right? We don't want to give out any tidbits or anything because we're already talking about it, right? You know, so she answered perfectly there. But the salary cap for these women is a concern, and it's been a concern. So last year, or excuse me, coming in this year, they raised the cap by $200,000 per team. Okay, and that brought it to a total of 3.5 million for each team, not for each player, for each team. There are athletes right now making that per year in the game of soccer, aka football. Okay, so it's like, okay, they're probably offering her as much as a team would make in a year. That's probably what they have on the table, you know, right? And it says that follows increases to the cap in each of the past 4 seasons, with Berman noting that the cap has almost quadrupled in the past 4 years. But Berman, while expressing a desire to raise the salary cap, was non-committal about whether it would happen for the 2026 season. So every year they've gotten a cap, and as you see, it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So can you imagine 4 years ago what these ladies were making? And now he's like, yeah, it's getting bigger and it needs to keep getting bigger, but we're not going to commit to it being bigger because we're just not going to do that. You know, that's just not what we're doing here. Right. And it's one of those things where I think a part of that salary cap and part of that salary issue really is because that, again, is not as popular in America as it is in all other parts of the world. And it's sad because these athletes are just simply amazing. They're simply amazing. And they are worth every penny that they are deserving and should be paid. And I think it's going to be a really hard decision for her because obviously she's American and she wants to be here, and you know, she spent her life being on, you know, getting to this moment, working really, really hard, being a part of this national team. But at the end of the day, finances have a play in it as well. So we're going to just wait and see, and you know, and see what happens here. You know, I don't know where they can pull the money out the hat. I don't know. I don't think they can do it. I don't think they can pull the money out the hat. And I think that if she leaves, it's only because the contract is more beneficial for her, especially in the long term of her being an athlete. And yes, she has, had some injuries and she's, suffered through some things, but not enough to be like, yeah, we're just not going to pay her, because obviously England sees her, they want her, and they think that she'll be a really good fit over there. Either way, I'm happy for her. Either way, I'm not going to stop talking about her, reporting her when she does great things. But I just know, and when I seen that the soccer league was fighting for her, I was like, this is that she's something really important. She is who she says she is. So that's my news on Trinity, y'all. Has anybody seen Dennis? Has anybody seen Dennis? Is he cool? Is he okay? I don't know. All right. Another question that we have to ask, is he cool? Is he okay? Keon Coleman. So Keon Coleman has been scratched for the second week in a row. So the first week he was scratched. There was, reports going on said that he was late for a meeting. And even before then, there was reports coming out about his behavior, about him being late, about him being, not as present, not as involved, and just simply not mature. And at this point, we have to grow up, right? He is going to lose such a great opportunity because he cannot get his act together. And there's really no excuse for it. When he first came, he took the world by storm. He took the media by storm by talking about the buffalo and the code and his mom and the snacks and all those things. And it was cute. And it was like, this is great. But now you're in the league now and you're not, this is not your rookie year. And even if it was, at some point there has to be a level of maturity to where you step up to the plate to be that guy. Buffalo believed in you enough to bring you there, and now you're about to throw your opportunity out the window because you can't seem to get it together. There's no reason why you're late to meetings. There's no reason why you're sluggish and you seem always tired. There's no reason why your behavior is now causing effect for you to be scratched from the game, and likely they're going to release him. And because he's problematic, he's going to have some issue getting on with another team. And yeah, of course, somebody will probably sign him and, try to reel him in and pull it together. But going to a place like Buffalo is such a great place to be. There's such a grand opportunity there. You're with a great staff, a great quarterback. They win. It's a little rough and rocky, this season. They're a little up and down. But still, they are one of the teams that are just at the top of the NFL of where you probably want to be. Now, I'm not saying that, there can't be anything else going on with him, because there probably is, or he's probably just being very immature. He's being held to a higher standard and he's not meeting that standard, and that's unacceptable. Period. Being scratched now from your second game, and they're calling it a healthy scratch, is not what you want. That's not the reputation that you want to have. You don't want to have the reputation of being that guy who has potential to be an amazing, great athlete, but he can't get his act together. He's not a team player. He doesn't, understand the program. He doesn't want to fit into the program. And this is the part where I say, when I just said my scripture, don't conform to your environment. And maybe he doesn't have to conform, because he can still be who he has to be, but he also has to do what he has to do and step up to the plate and be the NFL player that he is needed to be for that team, on and off of the field. There's no excuse for it. And it makes me sad, because he is one of the players where I was like vying for him. One of the players where I'm like super excited to see his growth, super excited to see what he does in terms of being just going into that second year and being this amazing player, really getting more reps and just being a staple in Buffalo. And here he is blowing it. Right? And ESPN wrote the article, and it says that the Buffalo Bills are continuing to tinker with the receiver lineup ahead of, Thursday night football. And it says that wide receiver Keon Coleman, he was listed as healthy, but he was scratched for the second straight game. Coleman was inactive for the team's win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after being late to a team meeting on Friday before the game. Coleman, the 33rd pick in 2024, had previously been in the plans to play that week. The team has elevated other wide receivers around him and really have just started to pick another guy. And in the league of football, it's next man up. In any league, in a league of sports, period. I don't like how this is making my hair look. My hair is not fuzzy, by the way. But in the league of in this league of football and really in all the sports, it's always going to be next man up. If you don't want the opportunity, there's somebody waiting behind you that wants the opportunity, that wants to step in and show what they can do. And if you can't be that guy, you can best believe that they're not going to continue to tolerate it and put up with it. They didn't take a chance on you as the 33rd pick for you to get there and then show them your butt to kiss. That's not what they want. You need to grow up. It's time to grow up. Put the big boy draws on and pull it together. And I get it. He's young. He's 22 years old. So, still trying to develop that frontal lobe because it's not always there yet. But come on, dude. You have an opportunity to really do what you need to do to change your life. And instead of you doing right, you're doing wrong. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And this is now the third time where Coleman has missed a game within his 2-year career because of disciplinary issues. Not okay, right? And then, it said that he spoke after the game. He acknowledged that being late and he took responsibility for it. And he says, I'm aware of how, Coach Sean McDermott responds, I'm aware of how he handled it more publicly, and I appreciate that and respect that. And now it's again one day at a time and earning the trust and respect of the teammates. And that takes time so that each and every day that goes by, you just check them off as wins, trust builds. So that's the important piece of it. And at this point, your teammates don't trust you, and that's not where you want to be. So I hope that at some point he can just turn it around, lock in, get back focused, and really take advantage of the opportunity that he has, because right now he's literally fumbling the ball. And it's not okay. Get it together. Get it together. Okay? Now, before I get into my question 101, we have to talk about the 2 Live crew over here. Yeah, Siamese twins, the Dips and the Dewitts, right? So I did celebrate them for getting the win. I did not know, like everybody else, we didn't know why they were benched for the first series of the game, which didn't really make a difference. I don't know what kind of statement that was supposed to be. A statement of their behavior being unacceptable would have been, we're going to sit you for the whole game. Heck, we're going to sit you for the first half. But we all know that the Cowboys really couldn't risk that because their first series, they were 3-out. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, they probably did that on purpose. They probably did that on purpose. They probably, we don't got CeeDee and we don't got George. We're going to go 3-out. And we're going to defense, y'all going to have to stop them, and then we'll go back, and then they entered the field. That's probably what they did. That's probably what they did, right? But everybody was wondering, like, well, why are they being benched? Now that the internet was talking and everything's going on, and of course, they did say some disciplinary things were going on and everything. It was just kind of like highly confusing. So the reason why they were benched for the first play is because the 2 Live crew over here was out all night in Vegas gambling. Then they showed up, they was out till 7 a.m. They showed up to the team meeting. They were sluggish. They were tired. They just, they weren't in it. They weren't in it. They're like, we was out having a good time. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. And a good time they did have. And then on top of that, you set them out for the game. You set them out for the first series. They get back in and they never miss a beat. I don't know what kind of sleep they got. I don't know what kind of energy pill they took. I don't know. But what I do know is when they stepped onto that field, you didn't see it. You didn't see it. A couple times maybe with CeeDee, had a couple, But George was playing. George shows up. Anytime he really needs to show up, he shows up. And I think that's one thing we can say. He'll show up. So he showed up and did what he had to do. But, apparently what they thought was going to stay in Vegas is now making it to the blogs and the platforms and the podcast because they were out gambling and getting it in, doing their thing, But I guess we could say the bright side is they weren't out getting in trouble. They weren't out speeding down the Las Vegas Strip. They weren't caught with doing any starts with P institution. I mean, we don't truly know that, but that hasn't been reported, and there has no video of it. Um, and they weren't out doing any illicit and illegal drugs and activities. So, I mean, if you want to press the slot machine, they said, listen, we can't bet, but we can press them slots. We're gonna press them slots. I wonder what slots they was at. Press them penny slots, okay? They wanted to get the whole vibe and everything. So, I mean, I don't know how they thought they were gonna go out and nobody was going to see them, but that's just what it is. So there's that. So that's why our two live crew was sitting out for the first game. In case y'all are still wondering, like, what the heck happened? That's what happened. Okay. Now we are going to move on to Equestrian 101, and this is Equestrian sports, right? Because like I said, I did a episode before where I was talking about it, and I was so into it, that my brain like did a lapse, and I was just saying things that just were not the most true. Right now, those moments are the times where you can slide into my DM and my comments and all those other things and say, "Hey, you are wrong." I will take that because I had to catch my own mistake, right? I had to catch my own mistake. And those are the moments where I don't mind someone correcting me. But when I know I'm right, don't come with me. Don't come at me with that because I know I'm right. Okay. So I have a whole little sheet here and we're going to go through it and we're going to make it make sense. And you're going to fall in love with the question the same way that I fell in love. You probably won't fall in love with just learning the basics, but you need to understand the basics for you to understand why the events like the Derby, the Breeders' Cup, Preakness, why it's in the Olympics and all those things, and why it's just such a beautiful, grand, and really money honey sport. Okay. So let's get into it. What is equestrian? Well, equestrian is the art and sport of horse riding. It encompasses everything from recreational riding to competitive disciplines at the Olympic level. Okay? So the main disciplines are dressage, often called horse ballet, and it's about precision, harmony, and performing specific movements with grace. And then you have show jumping. Horse and rider, they navigate a course of jumps, aiming for a clear round and the fastest time. And then you have, it's called eventing. Yes, it's called eventing. And eventing is the triathlon of horse sports, combining dressage, cross country jumping, and show jumping over multiple days. Now, you probably are like, oh, this is basic equipment. If you look at this lady here and what she got on, and probably in the other video, you'll see it'll be down below me. But what she has on and what this is like the basic equipment. Obviously, the rider needs a helmet because it's always safety first, right? You need riding boots, not just regular, the regular cowboys and the cowgirls are in regular boots, but they do have some riding boots. And then you need the appropriate clothing, which, you see lots of people dress like that. There's just specific clothing for different things. Obviously, you need a horse. That's like, you need a horse. If you don't have a horse, you're not going very far. Okay, that's I didn't make the rules. Okay, you need to be able to get on the horse. Okay, you can't just stand by it and then you say you're a part of equestrian sports. Not how that works. Okay. So boom. So you obviously need a horse. The horse needs to wear a saddle, a brindle, and depending on the activity, there are protective boots and wraps for the horses as well. As you see that, horseshoes are another thing. Like they're actually, I know a person who makes horseshoes and is like, so excited, right? But we're not gonna get into that because that's a whole other thing. It's a whole other thing, right? The rider and the horse's partnership is really, really important because unlike any other sports, when you're in horse riding or equestrian sports, it really involves both athletes. The horse is an athlete and the rider is an athlete, and they have to work together as one in order to have success. The success is really brought upon the trust that you build together, the communication between you and the horse, and the understanding between you and the horse. You can't just get on the horse and think you're going to go, aki, aki, and think it's going to go because that's just not how it works. Okay. I know what you think you see in the TVs and the movies. That's not how it works either. There's a lot more that goes into horse riding and doing horse events, shows, and other disciplines. And trust, communication, and really, I think like harmony, which is the understanding and the balance, all of it is super duper important for you to have success with your horse. That's why most people, when they're on their horse and they train with that one horse, that is literally the horse that they have the entire time of their riding career. Can they switch up? Yes. Can horses ride with other people? Absolutely. But you have the most success when you're locked in with your horse. Okay? Because you two are now one. It's kind of like a marriage, right? A marriage, right? Okay. So riders use their seat, legs, and hands to give subtle cues. So the horse has to understand you. Okay. You can't go and think the horse gonna know what you're talking about. That ain't how it works. I actually horseback. I rode a horse. I was gonna say horseback ride. I don't know what I was gonna say. I rode a horse through the desert in Arizona, and baby, okay, trying to just figuring out like when to pull back, squeeze, squat. It's already a lot. So it really is. This is one of the things where it's actually a really really disciplined sport. Okay, so why do people love it? You probably figure out like this sounds so boring. Well, people love to do this because it builds their confidence, their discipline, and their empathy. Because you have to care for this horse, you have to care for something else other than yourself, right? It's also one of the few Olympic sports where men and women both compete equally against each other. So it's fair ground. It's fair. If you want to talk about equality in sports, this is probably the most fairest sport of them all because it don't matter if you a boy or a girl, y'all compete against each other. May the best horse win. Period. Okay. I'm trying to make this fun for y'all because that was a lot, so there's local levels. Obviously, there's national levels. There's all these different type of things, and I know one thing that came up and that I've been asked before too, and that's one of my questions that I had. I'm like, are all the horses that are in this, are they all males? Obviously, no. Horses are completely different sexes, and there are so many different types of horses that you may not know. So there is the mare, which is the adult female horse. There's the stallion, which is the adult male horse, and they say that this one is intact and not neutered. And then you have the gelding, which is the adult male horse that's been neutered. Right, and this is the most common for riding. And I think when you think about it, think of like how animals like dogs and cats get neutered, and they say it's better for their temperament, it's better for just their overall health, well-being, and longevity. So same thing with like horses. Then you have a filly, which is a young female horse under the age of 4. You have a colt, which is a young male horse under 4 years old, and then you have a foal, a foal, a coal foal, foal. FOAL. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong because in my dialect, I think foal because I'm thinking coal, foal, but it could be wrong. And that is a baby horse of either sex. So that's what they're all called. So that's what the horses are called. So when I was talking about the horses, journalism and sovereignty, they are colts and they are 3 years old. So that's why they're considered, not even considered, that's why they're called colts because that's what they are. And they're boys. They are men. They're males. Okay? And it was my mistake. I was messing it up. Okay. So horse breeds are just horse breeds. We don't have any different things out there for them. And the most common horse and sports riding breeds are the thoroughbreds. They're known for their racing and athleticism. You have the quarter horse, which is America's most popular breed, and it's a great all-around horse. You have an Arabian, one of the oldest breeds known for endurance and beauty. You have a warm blood like Dutch, Hanoverian, and Oldenburg. They're purpose bred for Olympic sports. And then you have your work breeds, which, we're not really going to talk about those, but you have 2 of the main work breeds that are obviously for things like the horse that you see in the Budweiser commercial. Those are the draft and the work horses. French draft horses, you have those as well. So there's so many different horses. So even though you from the regular eye are like, all these horses look the same to me, they're all not the same. They're different breeds and they're used for different purposes. So a lot of the Derby horses that you would see, you will probably see a lot of thoroughbreds. You'll probably see some quarter horses as well because they're good for just all around. But a lot of the race horses that are fast and things are thoroughbreds. So if you watch the Derby, you'll see lots of thoroughbreds. Okay, and then I'm gonna just wrap it up. I'm gonna wrap it up with this because I want to talk about the Derby. So the Derby, which is horse racing. So again, there's completely different disciplines. So you have horse racing, you have the other disciplines within like the Olympic sports, and then you just literally have like recreational equestrian, right? And all the things you gotta have some money, but Derby or the Derby is typically referring to the Kentucky Derby, and it's one of the most famous horse races in the world. It's specifically thoroughbred racing. Horses running at top speeds around a track. It's like really, really fast. A lot of people say this is the fastest 2 minutes in the world, right? They are run by jockeys, not equestrians. So these are jockeys on the back of those horses because the horses and the jockeys have to be able to go real, real fast, right? And they're specialty athletes who weigh around in between 110 pounds and 120 pounds, and they crouch down over the horse because that's the way they have to do it when they gotta speed race the horse. I don't know why I'm doing the action, but when they have to speed race the horse, they need to be crouched down really, really low. And then when you do the other, like the Olympic style, they're sitting up like the lady in the picture, her back is straight. There's just different grace that comes with it. So horse racing is not about grace. It's about speed, obviously. You're racing. And everything else between equestrian is about grace. It's like when you're doing polo and they're in like all these cute little polo outfits. They're so gracious on the top of the horse, but then they go ham when they gotta hit the thing. We'll talk about it later, but okay. There is one distance, one time. The Kentucky Derby is always 1.25 miles, and it is run in about 2 minutes. The horses are 3 years old, and racing is their full-time job. Sovereignty, journalism, full-time job running. And then it's just about pure speed. The first across the line wins, as you all know. And some of those payouts are in the millions and millions and millions of dollars. Now, regular equestrian activities, you have the different disciplines, as I said before in the beginning when I was talking about the dressage, show jumping, and the trail riding. And although riders are called equestrians or riders, it's also considered equestrian sports. I know that can be kind of, confusing. Like, what are we talking about, right? And the focus on a lot of this, again, is the technique, precision, and partnership with the horse, and it's not just speed. The horses can vary of age when you're just doing regular equestrian sports, and it can be competitive or purely for recreational purposes. So those are your differences there. Okay, one is about like this is the horse, it's their full-time job. This is what they do. They're fast, they're bred to be fast, they're bred to win. They do all these different cups and races throughout, all of that leading to the one race, which is the Kentucky Derby, which is the fastest 2 minutes in the world. So if anybody ever asks you what sport is the fastest 2 minutes in the world, you better say the Kentucky Derby. And if they ask you where you got that information from, if you did not know it and you just found out about it now, you better say Dez or Pretty Girls Love Sports educated me and she told me about this. Okay? All right. So I'm gonna leave it at that because I can go on and on because I do have a whole lesson here. So hopefully you kind of got what I was getting at, and hopefully you kind of understand a little bit more about the beauty of this sports and the beauty of what they do. Even if it is just fast racing and derby racing, it is so much more eloquent. It's so much more graceful than that. It's so much more within the discipline that I think is really, really beautiful. And I don't think that it gets enough media attention. I don't think it gets enough love and the showcasing of its really beautiful art. And that's my next door that I'm going to break down. I'm going to break that door down, and Dez is going to get in there. You can count on that. Okay? But that is it. Okay, I wanted to make sure I did my Equestrian 101 because I had to make sure I put it out there because it's super duper important to me to introduce my audience to a lot of different things, to introduce to all the sports that are in the world. There's so many sports that we could talk about, and this is one of the sports that I think kind of needs its recognition. So thank you guys for watching, for being here. Please make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing on all social media platforms at PG Love Sports. This is your daily dose with Dez. Please make sure you're continuing to get Dosed every Tuesday, Thursday, sometimes Friday, sometimes Saturday, child. You know, I be where I be. But like the video, we are almost close to our goal of 500 subscribers by the time we get to the end of the year. I appreciate everybody who has already subscribed and who already supports me. It really means the world to me. If you want your free digital newspaper called the Playmakers Press that comes out to your email free every Tuesday, you can go to prettygirlsmedia.com. Click on the newspaper, scroll to the bottom, type in your email address. That's all I need. And voila, you will become pressed and actually look at the current week's newspaper that is up there as well. That was a mouthful, but I love you all again. Got to go. Got so many other things to do.